Hello and welcome to the Enterprise Talk Conversation Series, a peer knowledge resource by the CXOs for the CXOs. Now to our host, Kanika Goswami.
Hi, we welcome you to our podcast On Stage with Enterprise Thought Leaders. My name is Kanika Goswami and I'm the managing editor of On Media's B2B Enterprise Technology Publications. We have engaging conversations with global thought leaders and industry experts, and these conversations reach over 1.3 million business leaders worldwide. Today, we are speaking with Sudhir Chadega. He is the global lead of Motorola for business and is also the chief of staff for MBG's senior leadership team. In his role, Sudhir is responsible for driving all aspects of Motorola's B2B organization, which includes sales, strategy, R&D, support, etc., globally. Prior to taking on this role, Sudhir was the Chief Strategy Officer of Motorola, where he was responsible for overseeing initiatives including annual and long-term strategic planning and growth. He joined Lenovo in 2012 as a part of the group's corporate strategy team, where he supported Lenovo's global growth strategy, which includes its acquisition of Motorola Mobility and IBM System X division. Prior to joining Lenovo, Sudhir held various positions at General Motors, Deutsche Bank, and Hewlett-Packard. He holds an MBA from Chicago Booth and a bachelor's in computer science from the National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. Welcome to the show, Sudhir. It's lovely to have you with us here today.
Thank
Is
you,
there
Kanika.
anything you would like to share with us about your new role and about the direction Motorola Mobility is taking?
Yeah, thanks, Kanika. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you and obviously all of the listeners of your podcast. Um, Look, I've been with Motorola now for almost 6, 7 years, where again, as you mentioned, we've gone through various phases of our strategy, and right from the beginning, when we had to go through a complete restructuring of our business to get to profitability, to finding new opportunities for growth. And so, one of the new opportunities for growth that I've been spearheading is growing Motorola into the enterprise space. Traditionally, Motorola has been a consumer-oriented company. We even today are a very consumer-focused company, bringing innovation to our users. But at the same time, being part of Lenovo, that is a powerhouse when it comes to enterprise, provides us the opportunity to bring a lot of innovation not only in terms of devices that we bring, but also in terms of the overall ecosystem that Motorola as well as our parent company Lenovo can bring. So in that sense, a big focus of mine has been to grow our capabilities into the enterprise space, understanding the needs that companies and enterprises have for their work-specific requirements, especially on mobility, and then making sure that we as Motorola are providing that solution to them. So that's been a big focus of ours. It's been a fantastic journey so far, and really happy to be here having a conversation with you in terms of what we're seeing in the from our customers as well as from the overall enterprise environment.
It's great to have you with us today, Sudhir. We'll have some very on-ground conversations, not very, how should I put it, kind of things which are not relevant to the industry, but more of conversation requirements. But what we talk about today is actually what's happening on the ground as far as Motorola is concerned. So my first question would be, what risks does your study, which we were referring to when we had this arrangement, what risk does your study indicate for employees who still follow bring your own devices? There are some organizations that still allow that. So what are the risks that they are taking in doing that?
Yeah, thanks, Kanika. Yeah, so the study that we talked about is a research we did both with CIOs and CTOs of various sized organizations as well as employees, essentially understanding their policies, essentially understanding what sort of risks they're seeing, what sort of requirements they're having. And so one of the things we're seeing today, right, in today's work environment, again, smartphones have become a powerful tool with a variety of benefits, right, from connectivity all the way through productivity. And most organizations are becoming more and more reliant on their employees having access to company data through smartphones, whether it's a BYOD or it's a company issued phones, right? And when it comes to BYOD, what our survey indicated is there are both benefits and risks. Some of the benefits, and we can talk about it later, include flexibility for employees, some budgetary benefits for employers that don't want to have a big outlay right at the beginning, and so on. But we also did see that CIOs, CTOs, and even employees flagging a number of risks with the BYOD approach. I'll start with the view of what employers are seeing. Right? Given the plethora of smartphone vendors that are out there and the different approaches that each vendor has towards security that they provide on the device, a free-for-all approach, if I may call it, it creates significant security risks for companies. What CIOs and CTOs have mentioned is it is indeed challenging for them to secure a personal device of an employee to the same level as a corporate issued device, since these personal devices often lack the security measures, end-to-end encryption, security updates that can be mandated on a company owned or a company issued device. Our survey also found that two-thirds of CIOs and CTOs are really concerned with the security risks of employees using personal smartphones at work. And more than half of the same CIOs and CTOs have said their company security at one point has been compromised as a result of an employee using personal smartphones. Then there's the question of data ownership. Companies and employees often are unclear on who owns what data, especially when it comes to a personal device. So that creates an additional risk in terms of privacy, in terms of what an employer is able to access and allowed to do on an employee's device in a BYOD or in a personal device environment. And finally, the diversity that I mentioned creates a lot of challenges for IT admins to deploy and manage these devices in a seamless manner. This means IT admins either have to fall back to a minimally applicable device policy, which curtails their ability to manage the devices in a seamless manner, or these IT admins now have to purchase very complex device management solutions, thereby it increases their expenses and complexity. Now, from an employee perspective, 60% plus of the employees that we surveyed said that they have difficulty disconnecting from work when they use a BYOD approach. Essentially, this creates a work-life balance issue. A lot of employees do end up facing burnout issues because of this. And more than half the employees we spoke to agree that accessing work items on a personal smartphone can compromise the security. And then it also does create a lot of distractions, especially with the apps that we end up downloading on our personal devices, social media apps. These do create a lot of compromise when it comes to productivity for employees when they're using a personal smartphone. Now, these, we believe and we've seen that enterprises that deploy dedicated devices are able to limit these risks, right? One, they offer enhanced security features that are tailored for the company's environment. Two, there is a level of uniformity with company issued or company approved devices across the organization, which allows easier device management, as well as a level of resilience because it's easy for the IT admins to quickly swap in and swap out a device that has run into issues and get the employee back up and connected. And then finally, for the employees, there is a clear delineation of personal and professional use, which allows them to get a better work-life balance. And so again, while there are benefits to BYOD, which we can talk about, we do see that there are quite a bit of risks that are associated with a bring your own device approach that companies have to face.
Right. So, what do you think is the volume of these risks vis-a-vis the cyber risks that occur due to other reasons, maybe weak policies, lack of awareness, or even lack of tools, or lack of updated tools, or patching, or you name it.
Yeah.
How impactful? How much more impactful? How much more dangerous can BYOD be?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Kanika. And look, we live in a world where cyber risks are constantly on the rise, right? In fact, nearly 1 in 2 companies that we surveyed have said that they've faced some sort of a security compromise, and 73% of these have described them as a major breach, right? And nearly three-fourths of these breaches have included some sort of human element. To your point, lack of awareness, right? Through social engineering or through threats posed by weak tools and weak policies. And so, look, the way we look at it is company security is only as strong as its weakest link. So companies need to start looking at risk mitigation in terms of layers that build on top of each other, right? So not only do they need good devices, they also need to make sure that their employees are trained on how to use the devices in an effective manner, but also have tools, awareness, and policies to further build these layers. And this is especially important given how work culture today has evolved. Right? We are seeing smartphones become more and more central for people's work. The level of access that smartphones have to sensitive company data has increased tremendously. And then the hybrid remote working model now requires smartphones to access this data all the time. So there's a constant pipe that's connected to the company data that at any point in time, because of lack of awareness, because of tools, because of policies, does create a vulnerability, right? So the way companies have to think about is obviously the foundation layer is the device itself and making sure that they have the best device, that they have the right device for their environment. But then on top of this, they do need to ensure that every layer works and complements itself to build on the security, right? Starting with the training that employees have to go through, to the tools, the policies, they all need to complement each other. So again, like I said, any one aspect that is weak can create a big outage when it comes to the risks and the security. So we do believe that they all need to play with each other to fortify the company's policies.
And how do CISOs and CIOs respond to these risks? One way is to completely stop the BYOD policy. But in many cases, they can't, especially for remote working employees or remote working teams. So how do they generally respond to it?
Yeah, it's a good question, Kanika. And you know, honestly, this is really top of mind for CIOs and CISOs. 45% of those CISOs and CIOs that we surveyed have stated security was the top priority for them when they considered mobile devices in their employee hands. And more than two-thirds of the CISOs we've talked to actually say that their organization is unprepared for a targeted cyber attack in the next 12 months. So this is pretty, it's pretty significant for them. It's pretty top of mind for them. So what they are doing, they are proactively responding to this. They are enhancing their security infrastructure. They are taking a multi-pronged strategy towards this. What they've done as a starting point, 85% of the organizations we've talked to now have a budget dedicated to mobile security, right? And this involves training, this involves tools, this involves threat defense systems that they are building to protect themselves, their employees, as well as their customers. And then the security approach that they're taking, again, it needs to be tailored for the particular to their specific situation, which obviously in itself makes it complex. So if you think of some of the priorities, right? A healthcare company is prioritizing patient data privacy, protecting sensitive health information. They have a very specific way in which they need to protect the devices as well as the access to those devices. There are government regulations, there are customer requirements and privacy requirements there. Financial services firms, again, focus on transactional data security. They have fraud protection in mind. They need to make sure that their customers have trust in their operations. So that's their focus. Retail industry maybe emphasize protecting consumer data, payment information, while CISOs of educational institutions seem to, they want to secure student data, staff data against cyber threats. And so, what CIOs and CISOs are doing is they are prioritizing security, whether it's a BYOD or a company provided smartphone. With a company provided smartphone, it becomes a lot more streamlined an approach for them. And this is a trend we are seeing actually these days, where a lot of companies that had shifted more towards a BYOD policy, especially during the pandemic, they're either starting to rethink that policy or even in some cases revert back to a company issued policy or a company managed policy. And even in companies that don't have a company issued policy, we're starting to see CISOs strengthen the requirements that devices need to have, as well as installing tools on devices to help them manage and secure those devices. So some of the things that CISOs these days are keen on ensuring with a device, whether it's a BYOD or it's a company issued device, is they want to make sure that devices have security features like a trusted execution environment, a very safe environment in which passwords and pins are executed on, right? Ensuring that these are essentially on the device, safe, secure. Or CISOs are ensuring that they're purchasing devices that have additional hardware-based security features built on the device. A lot of device vendors are starting to do this, and this has become more and more important, especially in very security and privacy conscious industries. CISOs are prioritizing devices that provide regular security updates, right? So I've seen companies where if a device is out of patching for more than a certain number of days, 90 days, 120 days, and so on, they essentially disconnect that device from the corporate environment and keep it disconnected until that device catches up on its patch levels. They also are preferring devices that do not come with bloatware or third-party unwanted third-party software. Again, while these software do provide some benefits to consumers on a personal basis, because these are third-party software that haven't necessarily been vetted, there is always the risk of unknown vulnerabilities being included. So companies are preferring more and more pure devices, pure operating system devices. We're also seeing CIOs and CISOs deploying additional tools, right? So enrollment tools are becoming more and more common so that CISOs are able to easily deploy these devices into their environment with the right security and device management configuration. They are installing tools to enforce policies and ensure that devices remain compliant. Even with BYOD devices, they have to sign into these kinds of tools and policies. And then they are ensuring advanced security and device management tools like a threat defense system, sort of like an antivirus on steroids that are available these days. And companies are also mandating cybersecurity trainings for their employees. This is to ensure that employees are aware of potential threats, of potential social engineering activities that happen within the companies, where you have a hacker calling in and getting company information out of an employee. Right, so all of these things, again, they're taking a comprehensive, multi-layered strategy to bring in technology along with modified, acceptable human behavior, right, to combat these security risks.
That is right. I think you answered two of my questions in one. But so now we would also want to speak about the benefits of employees using their personal devices. How would you then counterbalance these benefits with the risks so that productivity and security both are not compromised at all? How would you do that?
It's a great question, Kanika. And look, we do see the benefits of employees bringing in personal devices, and our study actually validates that. So for employees, some of the benefits that have come through in our study is the increased flexibility that employees have, especially the ability for them to pick the device of their choice that meets their lifestyle needs. For example, a lot of employees have said that they like to purchase a similar type of device for their family, and they actually are comfortable bringing their device that they picked, which is part of the family plan, into a BYOD policy at work. So that flexibility is something that employees value. They're obviously very familiar with the device that they're using, which allows them to be comfortable bringing that device into work, and then reduces the learning curve. They don't have to now fiddle with multiple devices, a different type of device. They are very familiar and they're able to hit the ground running. So for them, it's the benefit for the employees. It's these personal benefits that are that they find valuable. And then for employers also, there are benefits. Many employers have said, 38% of the employers that we surveyed has said budget requirements are a big concern for them in issuing a device to employees. Right. So for an initial outlay of budget is certainly a big benefit. Another benefit is the elimination of device misuse. 1/3 of the organizations that we surveyed have indicated that employee misuse was a top challenge in offering company-provided devices, right? Whether it is employees misusing a work device for personal uses, whether it is they misusing the data plans for personal uses, these are things that employers are able to avoid with the benefits of bring your own device. But obviously, these are things that need to be counterbalanced with respect to the risks that we talked about. But also, some of the benefits that the organizations have seen by providing work smartphones, right? A lot of them see improved communication, collaboration, and increased productivity by providing dedicated work devices versus having employees use personal devices. And even employees say that they are able to keep the personal and the work areas disconnected from each other. 62% of them agree that having work items on their personal smartphone is difficult for them to disconnect. 85% of them get a better sense of work-life balance. And so there is the work-life balance, there is the benefit of a work-provided phone, but there is the benefit of the BYOD. So you're right that there is a benefit. And so the best way for companies to counterbalance these two is to make sure that they have this layered approach that I talked about in terms of protecting not only the employees, but also their own data, right? Providing a clean separation, providing policies and tools, as well as education.
So we just spoke about the benefits, we spoke about the issues. Are there any particular tools that can be used to achieve this balance, this offset of benefit versus risk?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a lot of these tools start to become very commonplace in work environments these days. First of all, I'll say fortifying an employee's personal smartphone is definitely an improvement over allowing an employee to use an unmodified smartphone at work. So that's let's call it table stakes. Every company should be doing it, and we're seeing more and more companies do that. A few of the tools that companies are now rolling out on a very streamlined basis uniformly. Enterprise mobility management or mobile device management solutions, and you can find them across multiple price points with multiple capabilities. These are essential to improve the security of a smartphone and to harmonize the policies across the smartphones. Some of the capabilities that the EMMs or MDMs provide that companies are looking to include are seamless enrollment to make sure that the deployment across the entire fleet of devices or the employees' devices is uniform. It allows these devices to be automatically set up, and it allows policies to be immediately pushed out on these devices. So that way, as soon as the employee, from day zero, the moment the employee turns the device on, these devices are now configured to be operating in a safe and secure sandbox. The second tool that a lot of CIOs are ensuring in their environment is what's called comprehensive policy control. Again, this is to allow administrators to manage and enforce policies, app permissions, settings across all these devices. Remote management is another tool that is important. Again, allowing administrators to be able to remotely problem solve anything that's happening on an employee's device, as well as troubleshoot any problems that may be going on because of a security issue, thereby minimizing downtime, maintaining the safety and the productivity in their environment. And then, of course, security updates and patch management tools to ensure that these devices are up to date with the latest patches are something that companies are ensuring that they have to that they are enrolling out. And then finally, there are a lot of tools like the ability to remotely wipe a device or lock down a lost device, the ability to remotely manage apps, delete unauthorized apps, as well as to secure the containment, secure and contain data that are on these devices is critical to manage security risks. And so, again, in summary, a lot of tools that CIOs and CISOs are using these days to better manage and secure the devices that have access to company data. And so deploying these would be the first and the best steps that companies can take towards protecting themselves as well as their environment.
So I think we've completed the entire arc of benefits versus risks and then how to handle them. So these were my questions. Is there something else that CISOs need to know if they are to allow employees to use their own devices, even if with added armor, with better risk protection abilities. Is there anything new that Motorola is thinking of developing, delivering to the as solutions to the market?
Yeah, so again, it's feeding on some of the areas that I touched on, right? So first and foremost, what CIOs and CISOs need to make sure they are aware of is what is the base device itself providing, right? Is the device, when the device manufacturer provides a device, is it in a safe and secure manner? And this is something, obviously as Motorola, we pride in providing that, making sure that end to end the device is safe and secure all the way from when it's in our factory to when it is in the hand of the employee. That device is in a tamper-proof state, right? So it starts with making sure the device is safe and secure, and then of course, like I mentioned, the layers of security that need to be thought through, including training the employees, training the entire workforce on security matters. So I think these are things that are important for CISOs, and irrespective of whether it's an open environment with a bring your own device policy or it's a closed environment with the company issued device, these capabilities matter and they're foundational to ensuring the safety in an organization.
Thank you for that, Sudhir. Enlightening conversation. I'm sure our audience is also going to take a lot away from that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kanika.
Thank you so much for being with us. Please do follow us on social media for regular updates and new content.